In the quiet halls of Charleston Heights Tower, a luxury high-rise overlooking the sleepy harbor, Chris Pratt Wilson pushes his janitor's cart through polished corridors that echo with wealth he'll never touch. On the top floor lives Sandra Bullock Dean, once a real estate titan, now confined to a wheelchair for 20 years after a car accident. While the city sleeps, their worlds collide under the hum of fluorescent lights. She watches him work, the man who hums jazz while dusting her abandoned physical therapy machines, unaware that this ordinary stranger will soon change her life forever. Chris, a widowed father to 8-year-old Eli Wilson, has learned to keep his head down, cleaning after Charleston's elite. His modest paycheck barely covers his son's medical treatments, but humility is his armor. Sandra, meanwhile, has wealth, power, and everything except the use of her legs and hope. Most who enter her penthouse treat her like furniture, but the janitor doesn't. His quiet presence reminds her of the humanity she's been denied. For the first time in years, she speaks to someone without an agenda. A fragile connection sparks, one built on curiosity, respect, and unspoken pain. During a late-night cleaning, Sandra confronts Chris about noticing her therapy machines moved. When he admits he saw signs she'd been trying again, something inside her stirs. For the first time, someone actually notices her efforts, not as pity, but possibility. Chris's simple observations, how she moves her chair closer to the window when she's stronger, touch a nerve. That night, she whispers to herself, maybe I'm not done yet. For a woman who has lived 2 decades inside stillness, the idea of motion, physical and emotional, becomes the most dangerous dream of all. Sandra's daughter, Kate Winslet Dean, storms into the penthouse with doctors and legal documents, insisting her mother move to a care facility. To Kate, her mother's desire to walk again is delusion. To Sandra, it's liberation. Chris overhears the painful confrontation. Kate accuses her mother of endangering herself and the family's reputation. But Sandra refuses to surrender. When the daughter leaves, Sandra confides to Chris that she's tired of being treated like a fragile relic. Her fire is returning, and it terrifies everyone around her, except the janitor who sees strength where others see frailty. As Sandra pushes herself to believe again, she learns that Chris carries his own impossible weight. Eli, his only son, suffers from a rare kidney condition. The boy needs constant care, and the treatment costs are drowning him. He's been working double shifts, sleeping little, and living only to keep his child alive. Sandra listens in silence. For the first time, empathy replaces pity. That night, she looks at her dormant therapy bars and thinks, if this man can fight every day for his son, maybe I can fight for myself. The following night, Chris finds Sandra gripping the handles of her wheelchair, trembling with effort. Slowly, painfully, she rises. For the first time in 20 years, her feet press against the marble floor. 10 seconds of agony. 10 seconds of triumph. Then she collapses back, breathless but smiling through tears. I felt them, she whispers. Chris realizes he's witnessing a miracle, not of science, but of will. He knows if anyone discovers their secret sessions, he'll lose his job. But the light in her eyes tells him it's worth every risk. Their midnight sessions continue for weeks. Chris teaches Sandra basic rehabilitation techniques from his own recovery after a construction accident years ago. Slowly, her strength grows. She begins to take steps with support. Their conversations deepen about courage, failure, loneliness, and second chances. But in the shadows, Kate has installed security cameras, believing her mother's mental decline will justify a conservatorship. The footage captures everything: their therapy, their laughter, even Sandra standing on her own. A storm of betrayal brews quietly, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. One morning, Kate bursts into the penthouse with lawyers and doctors in tow. On her tablet, footage of Sandra and Chris's secret sessions. Accusations fly: reckless endangerment, inappropriate relationship, violation of medical advice. Kate fires Chris on the spot, calling security to escort him out. But Sandra, now stronger than she's been in 2 decades, stops them cold. She commands the room with steel in her voice, declaring she will no longer be managed or silenced. For the first time, the billionaire in the wheelchair reminds everyone exactly who built the empire they're trying to control. Sandra's daughter threatens legal action, waving conservatorship papers. But Sandra stands, literally, in front of them all, gripping her walker and shaking with determination. Her words cut through the air. I've been afraid for 20 years. Not of falling, of never living again. Then she turns to Chris and does the unthinkable. Announces a medical trust fund for Eli's full care and offers Chris a permanent position as her rehabilitation coordinator. The room explodes with outrage. Doctors protest, lawyers shout, but Sandra has already won. She's no longer their patient. She's free. Months pass. Sandra's story spreads quietly through Charleston, until one morning, the impossible happens. She walks across her penthouse unaided, with Chris by her side and little Eli cheering from his wheelchair post-surgery. The boy's transplant, funded by Sandra's foundation, is a success. Together, they form the Sterling Foundation for Spinal Recovery, turning her mansion into a rehabilitation center for others told they'd never walk again. The headlines celebrate a miracle, but those who know the truth understand. It wasn't wealth or medicine that saved them. It was belief. 6 months later, the sun sets over Charleston's harbor as Sandra, Chris, and Eli sit by the window that once symbolized her prison. Now it's her view of freedom. Eli, healthy and laughing, tutors Sandra in math as Chris watches quietly. Do you ever regret it? She asks him. Giving up your quiet life? He smiles. It wasn't quiet, just small. Now I have one big enough for hope. Their eyes meet. 2 souls who turn pain into purpose. Outside, the world hums with a million stories of struggle and courage. There's this proof that sometimes the impossible only needs someone brave enough to believe.